Right now, though, I want to turn to Sharita Tate. Sharita, of course, a cousin of George Floyd. She is also the president of the George Floyd Foundation. Sharita, thank you so much for your time this morning. Just first of all, how are you doing? How's the family doing right now?
I think we're doing pretty good. All things considered, we're just waiting, just like everyone else, to get the jurors' verdict. And we've, for the last almost a year, we've just been waiting for this moment, and now we're finally here, and it's just a matter of them letting us know what they decide at this point.
The courtroom had a lot of restrictions, obviously, because of the pandemic. Only one family member could sit in the trial at a time, and you sat in at least one day, I know. What was that experience like for you?
It was, I don't know if I could find one word to really describe it. I certainly felt privileged to be able to be involved in that process. It gave me a different perspective on everything. It actually was one of the best days since this whole process started, because I was actually in court on the day when they showed the video from Cup Foods. And it was a time that I actually saw Perry when he was, active and dancing and doing those things that we remember him for. And so it was a good moment, but that quickly changed in the afternoon, because that was when we started to see the body cam footage. And as I said before, it showed me that Chauvin was still a cold and callous person.
Peter, what was it like sitting that close to him in the courtroom, just being in the proximity of the former officer there? And what did you make of his demeanor in court?
Well, that was actually my third time being in the same courtroom with him. So that particular time, I really had reached a point where he was there, but he wasn't really there for me. In terms of his demeanor, it's never changed. I thought he was a heartless person, cold. He didn't seem to be moved by any of the testimony. The witnesses, were, some of them were very emotional and crying, and he just remained the same sort of stone-faced, cold and callous person that I believed him to be from the very beginning.
Is there a part of you that wishes he would have testified, that we perhaps would have heard from him, have him answer or try to answer some of the myriad questions that so many of us have?
No, I actually didn't desire to hear anything from him, because I don't think it would have been, it would have added anything. I don't think he would have been truthful. The little bit that I heard from him, actually, when he had an exchange with Mr. McMillan, kind of said all I needed to hear him say. To have the demeanor that he had after murdering somebody, and then I think he said something like, it's just your opinion or one person's opinion, when he talked about Mr. McMillan spoke about how he felt. He should not have done what he did to Perry. So,
but I want to talk about the trial in general. How do you think the state did prosecuting its case? How do you think the defense did?
I think the state did a tremendous job from the opening statements until the closing. I think they did a very good job of, obviously the video everyone thought gave us, what more evidence did you need? But I think the way that they, broke it down in a layperson's terms, so we could kind of understand, what happened during that 9 minutes and 29 seconds was very effective. In terms of the defense, I thought he did the best he could with what he had. There really wasn't any defense. I thought he spent a lot of time talking about nothing. Nothing new came out of any of what I heard. We still arrived back at the same place, and that is the neck compression and the subdural restraint is what caused his death.
Sharita, it's one of the things that's fascinated me about this trial from the beginning is it sparked this global movement, this racial reckoning, as it's been called. But there was no reference to race in that courtroom. They didn't reference it in the closing. Do you think strategically that was a mistake at all?
I don't. I don't think it was a mistake at all. I think, probably people will read into that. And I think, like you said, there's been enough said about that part that I don't think they needed to even infer. We know clearly that he was a white officer, and my cousin obviously was a black man. The facts in and of itself were enough to drive that point home that what he did was murder to me. I don't think it made any difference.
How confident are you that the jury is going to return guilty verdicts on all counts?
I personally think there's enough there for them to do it, but as I say all the time, it only takes one person to have that reasonable doubt. I don't think that anything they presented did that, but again, that's my position. I can tell you that I believe that there's enough there for them to arrive at that decision immediately. I mean, but when you place that in the hands of these jurors, we have really no control over what they do. So I'm as hopeful as you can be in this situation. It's the outcome that I'm praying for, and I'm just hoping that God delivers for me in this time, just like He has done other times.
The last voice that those jurors heard from the attorney was from Jerry Blackwell. He left the jury with this final thought. Take a listen.
You were told, for example, that Mr. Floyd died because his heart was too big. You heard that testimony. And the truth of the matter is that the reason George Floyd is dead is because Mr. Chauvin's heart was too small.
And that is what he left the jury with. What did you make of that moment, Shrita?
I thought it was awesome. I didn't expect it. I had no idea that's what he would say, but I thought he summed it up quite nicely. A person to do that to another individual can't have much of a heart at all. So I thought it was good.
As you know, we are all anxiously awaiting a verdict right now, and there are a lot of cities on edge, preparing for violence. Do you have a message for folks across the country, especially there in Minneapolis, as we all wait for this verdict to come down?
I don't have a message for them per se, but I do understand. I do understand, why some people feel the way that they do, why they are angry, time and time again that they've seen this kind of play out. So my thought process is that we've always been wanting it to come to a peaceful solution, but at the same time, we understand why other people are upset.
Shrita Tate, we will leave it there. Shrita, thank you. And again, our thoughts continue to be with you and the family. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.